All right, good morning. Um, I'm excited to chat with my friend Krista today because we've been talking in our group a lot recently about if making these habit changes is making a difference in our lives. Because I always think that this Year of You group, the habits are like this secret way that we draw everyone in because we're going to teach you all these great habits, but really in the end, they're not at all what's going on in the group. And you do develop good habits, wouldn't you say? Like you start to automate simple things that bring in more well-being and self-care. Um, would you say that's true for you, Krista?
Definitely. Absolutely.
So what habits have you felt like have fallen into place for you?
A daily workout. More often than not, it's yoga, the medicine of yoga. The tongue scraping, the abhyanga, body oiling, lemon water in the morning, and trying to incorporate journaling and meditation.
Mm-hmm. And I always think that when we start to implement new habits, that it's almost like that's our check mark. We're like, oh, I'm having lemon water, check mark. And we make that the goal. The lemon water becomes the goal when really that's not even close to the goal. So if you were to try and explain that to someone how, yeah, lemon water is something that we're aiming for, but the bigger, broader goal of what's going on here is this. How would you even describe that?
Just taking 2 steps back, I'd say starting out with the habits, I tended to overcomplicate everything and think, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. There's 10 habits. Get to bed earlier, eat earlier, lighter dinner. It was 10 habits that I saw as overwhelming. And one day in the course, you said, it's actually not about the habits. And that was a game changer for me because I uncomplicated it, kept it simple, practiced the habits, and realized it was more of me saying, you're worthy, you're worth it, you're valuable, you deserve this. This is my voice to myself saying, I love you, I care for you, I want the best for you. I want you to live your biggest, best life by these simple habits.
We had a conversation one week about the stories you tell yourself and how you tell yourself a story about why you can't say go to bed early or whatever. And then you build in all these details to the story about why you can't go to bed early. And the truth, you have to really analyze that. So what was going on for you when we started talking like that?
There was 2 sticking habits. One was the morning lemon water. Having that before my coffee seemed ridiculous because I love my coffee. I like it black. I love everything about the ritual of coffee in the morning. And then on top of that, my husband is the sweetest man in the world and always puts a cup of coffee on the bedside table when I wake up in the morning. And I just thought that was just such a beautiful symbol of love. And so by swapping that out with the lemon water, I thought that would be like denying that beautiful statement that he gave in the morning. He even, when he's not home, my son does it. Like he's 9 and he's done it for years. So the story I told myself was, I'm not willing to give up that ritual. Aside from my ardent love of coffee, just everything behind it was just like an act of love for me, that it was just amazing. But I shared with my husband the lemon water and the why. I like to run in the morning, and there was all sorts of GI issues that I would have if I started with coffee, which always ended with an urgent trip to the bathroom as soon as I walked in the door. And he could always hear it in my footsteps, the urgency. And so swapping over to lemon water made sense. So I was willing to give it a try for a couple of days. And the very next day, as soon as I shared my why with my husband, on my bedside table was lemon water. And I just tried not to cry. Like I just kind of thought, okay, so the story I told myself was, this isn't going to work for my life and my family because of the reasons I've shared. But it was just such an easy transition that he still showed that token, that action, and I still got to receive that. So the story was a lie I was telling myself. And like, what an eye opener to think that these habits are good for us and can just be a part of our morning rituals that we're already enjoying. It wasn't that big of a jump. And enjoying that lemon water in the morning and seeing how my body's responded to that has been like yeah, see, this is what you needed. Just say yes to these things. Listen to that voice.
So the habits you're developing, there's this word ojas we use in Ayurveda that means like the container of your body and your life that is able to sort of grow big and get juicy when it's well maintained, when it's taken care of. And tell me about how you're feeling or noticing any sort of like expansion of ojas. And if you'd even relate that back to your habits.
Definitely. So I have a pretty busy existence, and being a nurse in a pandemic is extremely overwhelming and emotional. And just add homeschooling our kids and helping them through this process and living in a culture that seems to be promoting fear. All of those kind of things. And then my mother-in-law came and moved in with us and was diagnosed with an advanced lung cancer. So kind of bringing her through the dying process was, to put it completely understated, a big challenge for our family and for me as a nurse and a daughter-in-law and a wife and a mom, going through this together. And so I know a lot of nurses compartmentalize when they go through different traumas, and that's exactly what I did. And as per usual, I go through my ebbs and flows, and I have my energy and I have my purpose. And I was feeling very grateful for, being able to offer so much during a pandemic. But then, of course, you crash at some point, and I crashed. And my normal way of being might have been, I put in a few words: recoiling, unraveling, becoming a recluse. So I kind of like would try to find an opportunity to just hide under my covers and like be sad for a little while. But in that, I feel like you can break apart, and those pieces, for me, I felt always like flew everywhere. So like some pieces would be in the kitchen, some would be like behind the couch, and they'd be really difficult to find in my past way of being. And so when I started again, I always felt like I was starting from scratch when I was putting myself back together. And so this ojas, I feel like one day I broke apart, and the next day I felt like the pieces were within reach, because I was sticking with those habits and that foundation. So that foundation, I'd get up the next day, even though I fell apart the day before, I still did my tongue scraping and my lemon water and my walk with the dog. And I did all of those practices that said, I love you. And I just found that was amazing, because I broke apart, but rather than feeling like I was spinning out of control, I had the container where I felt like there was a portion still in my control, which was my habits. Sorry, I did write notes on that. So I felt like that ojas allowed me permission to fall apart, which I don't know that I've ever had before. I always felt like it was being defiant to fall apart. And so when I got that permission and everything was still close at hand to reach for and put back together, I just felt like it was such a good rebound. Not to say that I'm not going to fall apart again in this, but everything was within reach. Nothing under the couch hiding.
Yeah, there's theory in trauma response that when trauma happens to your body tries to keep you safe. So if you're currently unable to process the trauma, it will compartmentalize it for you. It'll take it away, and it'll give you sort of the clarity and focus that you need to do the next few steps. But nature requires you to go back and process that trauma. So it's almost like part of having the safety and structure of these habits, and maybe that's the right word, is safety. There was enough safety for you where you could allow yourself to process the trauma.
Yeah.
Does it feel like that's what it was?
Absolutely. Because then the medicine, once I had that experience, I was safe in my confines. I was safe in my year of you group to say, here's what's going on. I don't know if this is breaking apart or breaking through. It can be both, and that's what you shared. It can be both. But yeah, there was definitely a safety in that. And I mean, in the past, I've always felt like I had to start over, and that seems like so much work. So I would take a long time to start over. And this time it was like almost instantaneous to just go back to where I was. There was no steps backwards. It felt like steps forward the whole time.
Do you think that changes a pattern going forward and sort of, I guess, giving yourself permission to process trauma, or giving yourself permission to have breakdown because you have more capacity or realization of your ability to get out of it?
Definitely. And I mean, that's revealed by my practices. Like I might have bought a bottle of wine and I might have enjoyed that, and I might have wallowed and I might have felt horrible for a few days, and I might have made some horrible choices for my body, and I might have said no to all of this self-care sacredness, but I said yes to all of that. So it's like my body just said, you're okay, everything's fine.
I know I always feel like I'm oversimplifying things by saying life's these 10 habits. If you can just do these 10 habits with me and I promise da 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 da. Like I always feel like it's so oversimplified, but you just use the word sacred. And I think that's a big piece where sacredness, it's almost like you've made the habit something different than just a habit.
Right.
Yeah. So is it more, it's more, what is it then?
A foundation, like a solid foundation to stand on. I'm going to
move. You've got someone walking by your front call. Yeah. Krista, I just think that's so great. And would you say that, I think there's 3 pieces to the community. One is that we practice the Ayurvedic habits. 2 is that we bring in that habit psychology around the stories you tell yourself and, you know, how to actually implement these. And then the 3rd one is the community. So like, what is the balance for you and those 3 in terms of what's the most impactful or supportive for you?
Oh my gosh, I'm not sure I can say one thing. Like there's something special in the freedom to be vulnerable to a group. And I think that's one big part that's missing in our culture, because we're so judgy, you know, we have an opinion on other people's decisions in life. And it's really powerful to get to come to a group and just come as you are. Some days broken, some days feeling pretty great about yourself, some days completely lost. So I think that's a big thing that I'd like to tap into more.
And I've learned that often, like when we do come together in the group, like we'll have the chatterboxes that are saying a lot, and then we have the people who are being really quiet. And when I first started leading the group, I would find that I was always like, oh, that quiet person's not interested today, or they're not paying attention, or this is boring. And I would be very worried that the way the course was or that hour was unfolding was bad. But then you prove me wrong all the time, because your quiet days, the next day you'll have some share that you share with the group that is so profound and so deep and so meaningful that everyone is just blown away by it. And it always follows the night when you've been super quiet the night before. Yeah. So that's where the breakthrough is happening. Yeah. I don't know. Anything else that you want to add to that? I'm trying right now to support people in thinking about their early mornings and their early morning routine, and how when you can set up your first part of your day more intentionally, then the rest of the day can just, it takes a different trajectory. Whatever direction your day is pointing, it's like you've intentionally created that space in the morning. Can you speak to that at all? You're a good morning person now.
I love my mornings. I don't know. I guess it's just giving yourself permission not to be perfect every day, and to know that that's whatever point you're starting at, there's a purpose in that. But I guess definitely keep that checklist loose. I think it's really important not to attach a value to that checklist. So if you don't check them all off, you didn't fail today. Like that's what you needed today. That's the best you could do today, and that's definitely good enough. I think we've talked a bit about the high motivation and the low motivation days, and those low motivation days where you didn't check them all off, I think that's listening to your body too. That's listening to what your body's needs are. And so if we rob ourselves of that joy of just like coming to that low motivation day with what you've given it, I think that's powerful too. Just saying, yeah, that was great. That was great for me today. I didn't check all the boxes, and that's cool too. I don't know.
Because in the end, this has nothing to do with checking the boxes. It has to do with listening to yourself. And the more we learn to listen to ourselves, we start noticing that these are the kind of habits that our body's asking us for. And the days that it doesn't ask you, it's not about the check mark. It's about, did your body ask you for it that day?
That's right. Like our bodies are wonderful, complex miracles. And so you need to trust that it knows better than your head. Like listening to your body is better than listening to your brain of shoulds and obligations. It's just say yes to what your body needs today.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask you your opinion on this quote from, I think it's from Deepak Chopra. And he said something like, with all the expansive knowledge in modern medicine, it is only 10% of what your body knows already.
Yeah.
Even as a nurse, you think that's okay? That's a true quote.
Absolutely. I think we a lot of the times with Band-Aids and like medicines that are just Band-Aids, we're not tapping into the root cause of things like we should. We're masking everything. Yeah, so I think it's really important to trust our bodies. I don't know, we've done pretty well health-wise, like aside from Ebola and smallpox. We've done really well with like our bodies being amazing, efficient machines.
Yeah.
And
so cool.
We have to stop masking it. Start listening.
Thank you, Krista. Yeah. I feel I'm really super proud, super proud of you. And I just feel like you right now are like this light in our group, showing us all it's almost like you're letting us in behind the scenes of what that looks like, the breakdown, and how easily the pieces can be picked up. And that's another thing that's so powerful, is that in allowing that to be part of our group experience, everyone is trusting themselves more because they got to see your share around it as well. Yeah. I know, it's cool. It's like you gave us all permission to sort of witness that ability in our own selves as well. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Krista. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Miss Jill. Have a great day.